Good morning, all. Here's another episode of the Minnesota LASH TECH podcast. Let's talk about lashes. Let's talk about getting started in the lash industry. How many of you are licensed cosmetologists or licensed estheticians? Anyone looking for that specialty license of specifically the eyelash extension technician license? There are so many ways to get started in this industry, and it all begins with choosing your license. Once you have that license and you're off and running and you're able to take on your clients, there are many millions of ways to spend money getting started. It can be overwhelming, and we're excited and we want to have the best of everything and the most expensive, cozy, comfy bed and the best tweezers and all the different glues and try these different iPads and all the bells and whistles and fancy shiny things. And of course, everything needs to be in just the right color and have just the right packaging. And before we know it, we can be thousands and thousands of dollars in before we even started. So let's talk about how we can begin our investment on the low cost end, so we have low overhead, so we can maximize our profits and start seeing a return on our investment before building to bigger and better, more expensive things. To get us started on the low cost of entry, once you've obtained your license and you're ready to get going on clients, there are 5 basic categories to consider, and we'll go through them one by one. But the first place to start is to consider your basic fixed costs. So this will be all the recurring expenses that you have month after month that you cannot change. For example, the very first thing is you're providing services. So you'll need a location to do this in. So we know in the state of Minnesota, you cannot do it within your home unless you have your home registered as a licensed salon area. And that's a whole nother thing with a whole nother added expense when you're doing your starting up a salon and purchasing that salon license. So if you're keeping costs low and you're keeping things modest because you're starting out, consider your location and your rent. For example, maybe you want to start up in a micro salon, maybe inside something like a Phoenix salon or a Salon Concepts, something like that, where you are inside a broader facility that is already classified as a salon, so you do not need to incur the cost of having your very own salon license separated to just you and your business. Maybe that's something you grow into. But to start from, maybe you go into one of those spaces. Maybe you decide to have a partner. Maybe you and your partner can swap days. So you're each working part-time and swapping days until you have a broad enough clientele to take on more days in a full-time situation, or maybe a bigger space so both of you can work at the same time, whatever that looks like for you. But consider your basic fixed costs. Location is going to be the biggest piece of that pie. So the location of where your studio is, but also the location within your particular area where you live. Maybe there is a really expensive part of town and maybe there's a more modest part of town. Check prices around and see what fits best for your budget. Also consider things like, what is the lease term? Is it 6 months, 1 year, 3 years? Consider that investment as well, because maybe 1 year from now looks totally different. Maybe 3 years from now looks totally different. And maybe by that point, you'll want to grow into a larger space or take on a partner, or maybe you don't know what it looks like yet and you don't want to commit to something for 3 years having just started out. So consider those caveats as well within your lease terms. Next is your utilities. You're going to need light, you're going to need electricity, you're going to need internet. So consider the utility part. Does the location you're moving into, do they provide utilities? Is that included in the rent cost? If it's not, what are those basic costs each month? What's the average? Talk to the landlords, but also talk to other tenants in the building or the previous tenant if you can, to see specifically for that room or that building or that unit that you're moving into, what the average monthly cost is for utilities. Also consider water, trash. What does that look like? Is that something that you need to take home, or is there a dumpster available on site? Consider these kinds of things, and that's really the basis for the biggest chunk of your fixed costs. Now, the next big piece is to consider insurance. Insurance is a must. Before you can even touch a client, you need to have insurance. So Minnesota has its basic minimums for what sort of liability insurance that you need to have. So maybe your client comes in and it's a icy winter morning and they slip outside on the sidewalk. You could be liable for that. So you need to have insurance that will cover you in case of that. And again, that's something the State Board of Cosmetology regulates. That's something that you have to have. So not even just slip and fall accidents, which could potentially be covered by your landlord if you're going that route. Really look at the terms of your insurance and your manager or your landlord's insurance and see where that falls and how much coverage you have to have and where there's coverage overlaps that maybe you don't need to build into your policy. But there are other things. What if you accidentally put rubbing alcohol in their eye instead of saline solution? Strange things could happen. So in case they need to go see a medical professional, that's something that you want to be covered for as well. And these are worst case scenarios and hopefully they don't happen, but just in case, insurance is something that we must have. Additionally, insurance will cover things like fire or flood or theft. So what happens if a tornado comes through and there go all your supplies and there goes your lash bed? These things will need to be covered and insurance will cover you in case that happens. So insurance is a big chunk of the pie to look into. There are many different plans from many different companies and can really vary widely in your costs. So do some digging, do some research, and find out which coverage is best suited for you in your situation, as well as how much coverage you need and how good the company is at paying out in instances of calling on your insurance company, because that's important. Some companies are a little more stingy than others. I'm not going to call anyone out here, but if anyone's ever been maybe in a fender bender or something, or had an incident where they have a leaky shower or something, the insurance companies vary widely on who will and will not be more willing to pay out when you need to make a claim. So consider that as well. Okay, we've talked about location and rent and utilities and insurance. There are a few more basic fixed costs to consider. We'll talk about your point of sale system, your scheduling system, and the marketing when we return. Let's talk point of sale systems. Point of sale system is the way that your client will pay you in exchange for a service. Everyone wants to get paid, right? So how will you accept payment? Will you accept cash? Some people don't want to accept cash or checks or anything that has to exchange hands at this time. And with technology booming, it's a lot easier for most clients to pay with their credit card. Sometimes they can even pay in advance on their scheduled booking site, which we'll get to after we talk about our point of sale systems, or they can pay with a credit card after the exchange of service. So what does that look like, and what is that going to cost for you? There are fees for having systems and programs and credit card fees as well. So what will you use? Well, There's the tried and true PayPal. Most people have a PayPal already and know how to use it. And PayPal has upgraded systems that allow you to manually input or swipe credit cards. And this is easy and convenient for you and for the client. And oftentimes, PayPal has QR codes that a client can scan, and then you don't have to do any touching when you're exchanging money. So that can be a handy, easy, low point of entry, since both parties will typically have a PayPal account. Just be sure that as a business, you'll need to have a business registered PayPal account. This is different than a personal PayPal account. The way that your money is tracked and taxes for services and those kinds of things, credit card fees, get calculated will be a little bit different. So to keep yourselves on the up and up, keep everything legal and straight, make sure that if you go this route, you have a business PayPal account. For that matter, there's other similar apps. Venmo is another one. There are some where banks can connect to each other. There's all kinds. You can, do an internet search and find different types of point of sales systems, but PayPal and Venmo are two of the more common ones. And again, Venmo has a business profile page, so you'll want to get that one if you go that route. Both of these are free. PayPal and Venmo, you can get a free account. You just go and sign up. And the way that they make their money on their end is just by a portion of fee when you have a client that swipes their credit card. So you don't actually incur any out-of-pocket costs, or any upfront out-of-pocket costs, I should say. It's a credit card fee that's based on whatever program has set. So those are two inexpensive ways to go about it. Both of these systems are ways that you can do it online. You can do it by texting your client via the apps so they can pay you directly without ever having to touch a screen, or with the QR code, which is really handy. You can just have a printout sign of how to pay with you, what your Venmo handle is. They can scan that, and then boom, they pay you without ever having to do anything fancy. So those are two of the easy routes to go, and there are many more, but you can do an internet search to find one that suits you. Another option would be a card reader. So if maybe internet isn't something that's as accessible in your area, or someone maybe doesn't have these different electronic bank accounts, then a card reader might be more your speed. And this can look something like having a plug-in from the phone jack, or the lightning cable, or however you're charging your phone. These companies have card readers that fit right into that slot onto your phone. And oftentimes when you sign up for the companies that offer these card readers, they will give you the first one for free, the first card reader for free. So you can swipe your client's card right then and there, and it gets tracked through the online portal system. The card reader will have an associated point of sale system. So everything is right there, easy peasy. It'll have your menu of services. You click on the service your client received. It'll pop up what the cost is, and then your client will swipe their card. Easy peasy. Even the receipts can be emailed. So those are some easy ways to go about it, some inexpensive ways for point of sale system. When you're starting out, you don't need to get a cash register. You don't even need to get a laptop or expensive system to get started. You can start with your phone and go from there, and build as you go if you want to have more fancy electronics. The next thing that goes hand in hand with your point of sales system is your scheduling system. How are clients going to get a hold of you? How will they know what your availability is, and when can they book with you, and how long are your services, and what are the prices? So having an online scheduling system is a must these days. Everyone's online. Everyone wants to book online. People don't want to call in and make an appointment, and you're not going to know everyone in your phone book to be able to text and say, hey, come on in. So when you're getting started, definitely do that. that, start with your network, reach out to your friends and family and have them ask their friends and family, hey, I'm starting out, come see me. But they will want a space that they can book with you. So that would be your scheduling system. And that can be a whole range of sites that exist. What we already mentioned with the card readers. I am not a sponsor, but Square has a card reader and they have an excellent scheduling system. You can create online your name and your business metrics and all of your information and what menus you service. You can even add photos. You can even create, different shops and things. And then 24/7, they can schedule with you. And they can either pre-book and prepay, or they can pre-book and leave a deposit. They can even put their credit card in the system so that after their service, you can charge them directly from the authorization that they allowed from you online. So what that can look like is you can get paid on the front end, or if maybe you want to just hold a deposit, in case of a no-show, you can then charge their credit card. Or maybe they do come to the service and they wanted to add on a service or a product or something. Then you can go in and you can edit that and add to your service, and there you go. You can charge them the new total, and you're not shorting yourself by having them prepay or having to make a secondary exchange because they prepaid and then they pay for the add-on service after the appointment, blah, blah, blah. So it makes it really easy and simple when they can schedule online, and then you can use that same scheduling system as your point of sale system. And as it is today, there are many programs out there that have this duality, and look around and see what suits you best. There are programs that have free limited service things, so you can get a Square site for free, and you can upload your menu and you can have access to all of these tools and the card reader, and you can do that for free. And then of course there are, as you grow, additional services that you can opt in for, and you can buy a paid monthly or yearly membership so that you can have access to greater tools and bells and whistles. But when you're getting started, start with the basics. Get a scheduling system, get a point of sale system, so you can make an appointment and then you can have that client pay for it. So those things are essential, but there may be some costs associated. So that's why it's important to consider these when you're looking at your basic fixed costs. But I would recommend starting with these free services since they are so abundant. Just take a look around and see which one suits you best for your business type. All right, let's wrap this up with our 5 takeaways, the basic fixed cost to consider when opening up your new space. Number 1, consider your location. Where are you? What space are you in? And also, what part of the city, county are you located? Price adjust according to what fits your budget. Consider your rent. Number 2, utilities. In this, I'm also going to include basic furniture pieces that you'll need as well. So consider what's included in your rent. Do you get electric, water, heat, cable / internet? What's included, what's not? What do you have to pay for on top of your rent? Number 3, insurance. Absolute must before you can open anywhere. Having that insurance, state board requirement. These 3 are going to be your top money cost, fixed costs every single month, so consider these primary. And then next we have number 4, your point of sale system. You have to be paid, right? So the basic point of entry is going to be cash sales, but that's going to be hard for you to track. So getting a point of sale system where people can pay in credit cards, online, in-person, swiping, via app, whatever works for you, find a system so that you can get paid and track it. Also remember, you'll be responsible for paying sales tax, so put that in as well so that you're good to go at tax time. Number 5, a scheduling system. This is an absolute must for our era. We have to have a scheduling system. We're not just going to be texting people here and there. They need to be able to find us online, find us via social media. Even if they hear about you from word of mouth, they need a place where they can go so they can schedule an appointment with you. So find a scheduling system, whether it be MindBody, Salon Iris, Square. There's so many out there. Do a search and find what works best for you, for your price point, and also what's going to fit with your menu, your service menu, and what will accommodate the best for you and your situation. Those are the 5 basic fixed costs. You'll have these expenses each and every month. So remember to be very cognizant when you're planning out your start so that you can consider all of these costs, as these are going to be the basics for every month's due expenses. So you'll have to at least make this much to break even. Of course, there's going to be even more things that you'll have to get: furniture, consumables, supplies, marketing, We'll get to those in another episode here. But just consider that each and every month you're going to have to incur these costs no matter what. So these are the 5 basics. And next time we'll dig a little deeper into the very basics for low cost of entry for these other things that you're going to need. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you in the next one.